Welcome to the Lloyd's List Shipping Podcast. I'm Michelle Wiese Bockmann, Principal Analyst for Lloyd's List Intelligence, and I'm your podcast host this week. Ever wanted to know what it's like to operate ships where half the crew are women? Well, this week's podcast is going to tell you. We're talking to Hafnia, the New York and Oslo-listed shipowner who's got a trailblazing initiative that's seen them crew 5 product tankers with 50% women. Here's a sneak peek.
We see that there is a much different social system on board the vessels. They sit longer in the mess room. They talk more. They dress better before they go to have their dinner.
And if there was ever a week to highlight women in shipping, it's this one. We have a bit of history to celebrate. Later in the podcast, I'll catch up with the 2 women who founded the Women's International Shipping and Trading Association at the very same pub in London where the first meeting was held 50 years ago. But first, what led me to Hafnia and their Maritime Culture Lab project to begin crewing ships with 50% women? Well, it all started last month in London when I attended the Guild of Benevolence of the Institute of Marine Engineers event on sexual harassment, bullying, and assault at sea.
I'm just like some of you in the room here today, a seafarer. I have been told many times the sea is not a place for a woman, but I remain proud to be a seafarer. I may be faceless in this video, but I can assure you these are real stories and real pain. Some of you here today I likely even know, which makes it easier hiding behind a pre-recorded video, as this is the unmasked reality of my experiences as a woman at sea.
That's the beginning of testimony, recorded by an actor, of a serving senior officer about her time in the merchant marine. This woman bravely and powerfully told her story at the event. Sadly, it's one that many women at sea say sounds all too familiar.
When I reported a crew member for groping me, I naively thought I would be listened to, and maybe even action taken so it would stop. Instead, I was told that this was to be expected, that being harassed and assaulted was part of the price of being a woman on board.
Now, we do need to highlight the treatment women receive at sea. This officer recounted how she was raped twice during her long career amid constant objectification, sexual harassment and bullying. It's horrendous, and it was really hard to listen to. But I also want to highlight some of the positive steps being taken to integrate women to a seafaring career and the international maritime industry generally. And this is where I came across the Hafnia initiative and Singapore-based Raf Zhu, their executive vice president who leads the technical team.
Back in 2018-19, everybody talked about women at sea, and we also had to set up a goal, and we said 2 girls on board, a future, blah, blah. Until we said, why do we do this? It's just like everybody else is doing it. And what does it help? You put 2 females on board and you never see them again. Is that women at sea, or is that just fulfilling a ESG goal and so on? So we sort of start thinking, well, what can we do? And then we started to have this idea of, what about making a ship full of women? But that doesn't make sense either, because that's probably not what we're going to see in the next 100 years anyway. So we came up with this, let's make it 50-50, but all positions. And then we start seriously talking about it. And then we just started and find out that it was possible. So right now we have 5 ships with which are 50-50 or more than 50% female on board, and the 6th ship is already or almost coming up. And we will continue to make a natural growth from now on. And we might also stop calling them labs or test ships. But we have found out that by doing these 50-50 ships, you create a much more natural behavior. It's like in an office. Nobody in an office think about, you're a man, I'm a woman. You don't think about it. You just work in the office. And that's what we see on board the vessels as well. While where we only have 2 women, that's where we also have the problem. That's where we had this misunderstood fatherlyhood. Oh, let me carry a suitcase. Oh, let me open the door for you. And all that gentleman sort of stuff. And then suddenly that over a couple of months can lead to more. And then it becomes unpleasant and not nice for the females to be on board. It's also embarrassing to be assisted all the time. If you have to do a job, then all the men want to help you and assist you and so on. So it doesn't even have to be bullying or sexual harassment, but it's so easy to misunderstand it. While on the other ships, they don't care. You can carry your own suitcase. I'm here to work and you are here to work. So you fix it yourself. So you get a much more equalized behavior. So I think it is super positive, and I think we are unique. I have never heard about a similar project, and we now have more than 10% females on board our ships. So that in itself is unique, I think. If you take away ferries and so on, cruise liners.
Now, while Jules in no way dismisses the terrible experience of women at sea, he wants to start sending positive signals.
We need to tell the good stories. We need to tell the stories we tell young men. Come to sea because it's so nice. It's these career possibilities and blah, blah, blah. They need to have the same stories and not all this female are molested. There is harassment and bullying, but we also have that for young boys on board or old men on board. So it's two issues, and we really have to be careful we not equalize women at sea with sexual harassment, because then it will be very difficult to get women attracted to the industry.
So how and where have you recruited women for these vessels?
In 25 different nations.
Okay.
But the majority is Philippines and India. We are building up in Ghana, of all places. And other than that, it's Romania, Croatia, Germany, various places.
So what are the key lessons that have emerged from, so what, you've got 4 years worth of data now, from accommodation to hierarchy to culture, etc.?
We have a lot of things that we see. We are not in a place yet where we can have it change the safety culture on board. We can't say that. So the operational features, they're very difficult to measure because that's so dependent on the ship's trade. But we have definitely learned that ships are not built for women. And I have highlighted that to the class society, saying, hey, didn't you miss a little something when you design vessels? But that's smaller things. You only have one changing logger, for instance, because traditionally you didn't need more. So that's small things. Laundry rooms, is it more practical to make 2 laundry rooms now that you have 2 sexes on board? You don't have hygiene baskets on board. It's not built for women. So that is some learning we have definitely incorporated in our future design of ships. Medicine chests, they are not made for women either. So there we have taken a lot of learnings that we have shared with relevant class societies, design studios, and so on. On the more operational side, we see shore personnel, shore authorities are much more polite when they come on board. They stay longer on board. Pilots really like to come on board the vessels because there is a more natural atmosphere on board. So there is a lot of positives.
And on the question of maternity leave, Hafnia have had to go above and beyond statutory rights to accommodate their women seafarers.
We give longer periods at home. We give a guarantee for their position if they want to return to sea after a period. So we have taken steps to make it easier for a female seafarer to get pregnant and start a family. The exciting thing is now, how many will come back after giving birth? That is super exciting because it is a tough thing and probably more for a mother to leave the child when the child is 1 year old and say, toodaloo, see you in 4 months. Because it's also, we are running reduced time for mothers with small babies. We have reduced sign-on periods, but it's still a long period. They have to be away from their child. But that remains to be seen. We have found out this is a very long project, actually.
So the natural question, of course, is what is it costing you, and or what are you saving through having this approach to hiring on your ships?
So far, when everything is done and dusted, then the price should be exactly the same. Because whether you're a female captain or a man captain, it's the same wages you get. So at the end of the day, it should be the same. But until now, it has cost quite a lot, because we have, as I said, we have females in all positions and ranks on board. Otherwise, the project doesn't work. If we only took in cadets, then it wouldn't give us a good picture. So we have had a lot of dual sailing. For instance, we have had an inexperienced second officer, female, which were put on board as an extra officer on board other ships to give them experience, etc., until they were skilled enough to get back and take a full position on board the vessels. So these dual sailings have costed us a lot. We have had a lot of change of people coming on board, females coming on board, not finding it attractive and leaving again. So we have had extra travel expenses and so on. So it has cost us quite a lot to do this project. But it hasn't ruined us. I would say there's not a company who can't afford it.
And the retention rate so far? It's early days, but so far running at 90%. We're heading back to central London and to ye old Cheshire Cheese pub off Fleet Street. You can tell we're in a pub, so excuse the background noise, but I'm talking to Stella Marks and Gina Fife, the two founders of Wista, and absolute maritime industry legends. From this very pub, 50 years ago, has spawned a global shipping community of women in shipping with more than 6,000 members across too many countries to name. I sat down to talk to them 50 years to the very day they launched Wista and asked them what's changed.
On the surface, it appears quite a lot. Once you dig further down, not a lot.
That's Stella Marks. When she first started in shipping, Stella was told she had to be a hard bitch or an easy lay to get ahead.
There are still, in some cases, a lot of girls still suffering from discrimination within the shipping industry. It's not as bad as it was, and we have made progress, but on sea, I think we've achieved more because there's more attention given to it. On land, in certain areas, we're still having a few hiccups. You still suffer from, if you get married, if you're of childbearing age, if you come back to work off maternity leave, they seem to give us females a slightly different approach on return to work than they do men that become fathers. We'll get there, but it's just going to take some time.
Yeah, I mean, I come from the trading background, so it's not really doing the seafarers. I think it's a mentality thing in the companies themselves. And I think there have been in trading and in product, big changes.
That's Gina Fife, Chief Executive of global petrochemical trading company Integra Petrochemicals.
Our company, though, our trading company, has always had at least 50% women. Our board is 4 women out of 9 officers, and I chair the board. We don't recruit specifically women or specifically young people, specifically old people, specifically anybody who's ethnically diverse or otherwise. We want to recruit the best people. And I think because we're known for that, for us it's slightly easier because we attract that diversity. And we're very happy for that because we see that as our gain and other people's loss. I think there probably is still problems. I think there's problems across society, not just in trading or in shipping. But I don't know, maybe I'm a bit more optimistic because I've never been to sea and I don't talk to too many seafarers.
We have broken a lot of taboos, even on shore, because even if you just take the Greek shipping community, of course, traditionally Greek ship owners, the May, were desperate to pass on the Greek shipping companies to sons.
Yes.
But now, obviously, a lot of them, it doesn't matter. Your child is your child, be she female or be she male. There are a lot of female Greek ship owners, and that's paving the way for other industries, parts of the industry to follow. So we are making a lot of progress in a lot of areas.
So, for a woman contemplating a career in shipping, what would you say to them in order to encourage them to join? Because obviously there are issues in the industry, but we don't want to not persuade people to come in. By telling
Gina would
them
agree with
problems.
me. You have to be determined. You have to really be determined, which is the case in a lot of professions now.
Not just shipping.
It's not just shipping, but you need to be very determined. The advantage that the ladies entering now have that Gina and I didn't have is that you can talk about it. If you do have a problem, there is
There are other women.
and there are other women that were experienced it. When we started, it wasn't. It fell on deaf ears. If you tried to complain to your boss, he'd shrug his shoulders and laugh it off. But that's what the lads are like. There has been a lot of progress made since I started Wista in London 50 years ago, and since Gina joined internationally. Worldwide, I mean, there's a lot of us now, all over the globe.
Stell gets a little bit annoyed when I say I'm really disappointed in this organisation because it still exists, because it shouldn't be necessary, but it looks like it's going to be necessary for quite some time, but also it's doing some really good things, and I'm very proud because it's doing what it was set up to do, which is advocate and train and educate. And the amount of advocacy opportunities that they have now, I mean, we were at House of Parliament today, they're advising with the IMO and BIMCO and whoever. And that's super. I mean, that's really powerful, and that will help make change. So hopefully it'll go a bit faster.
First time I heard, because it's something I'd been passionate about but hadn't happened, that when the careers people go into schools, I've heard of 2 or 3 people that have actually been asked to go in from the shipping industry. Normally we don't even get a mention. People just assume that you buy stuff, it arrives, nobody worries how it comes. Until we had the problem in the Suez Canal last year where the ship got stuck, people never thought about how the goods come. And when they suddenly couldn't get certain things for a few weeks, suddenly people began to understand that shipping plays a very important role. And with all the problems that we have out in Russia and Ukraine and in the Middle East at the moment, it is going to become more important because it is a major transport route from all over the globe.
So there you have it. Some insight into how some of the industry's most forward thinkers are dealing with the challenges to attract the best people to crew their ships, as well as talking to the women that laid the ground for them. I hope you've enjoyed this week's podcast. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already in order to receive your weekly briefing on the stories shaping shipping. And while you're focused on your phone, why not download our new Lloyd's List app, available from the Android or Apple app stores? What better way to be the best informed about all developments in the global maritime world? Thanks for listening.